So now the recruitment phase and the first edict have been finished. It's back to the UN Solar Assemblies go. They're going to go to their research and development department and spend 2 metal and a uranium building an extraction rig. So this extraction rig comes into play around Earth, but if they had a colony, they could deploy it into that sector. And when the extraction rig is deployed, they get a bonus movement from their deployment rack, and they're going to send this to Venus on its way to Mercury. Now we go to Allison, and they're going to use their new Chief Financial Officer, Greg Boss, and spend 2 solar credits on 2 resources. So they're going to buy a metal and an organic. They also get a movement, and they're going to move this extraction rig to the orbit space of Jupiter. We'll go back to the UN Solar Assembly. They're going to spend their final solar credit on a metal resource. Now back to Allison. They're going to do something interesting here. They're going to go to their solar navigation, and they're going to use the solar lab. So we'll go into how the solar lab works now. So this is the solar lab, based on the astrolabes from thousands of years ago. We actually had an Oxford academic design it for us. So in Edict, the solar lab is used to calculate the fuel costs of travelling across the solar system. So let's see how it works. So if Allison want to travel from the asteroid belt to Uranus, they input their starting point and end point. Then they align the alidad, and they flip, once they've found out the distance, to the fuel chart cost, and they add their tier and the skill of their flight director. So currently they have a flight director with skill 1, and they're at the second tier of the propulsion tree. So you add that in, and you look at the fuel cost. So this distance would cost them 1 fuel, and their current fuel is organic. So that would cost 1 organic, and they get to go all this distance. So now that Allison have used the solar lab to travel from the asteroid belt to Uranus at the cost of 1 organic, they're then going to use their executive action, which is to buy a politic card for 4 solar credits. So they draw a politic card, and it is fake news impact, reduce the loyalty by 3 of an executive owned by another player. That's pretty good. It's quite disruptive. So they're going to choose the UN Solar Assembly's head geologist to take -3 loyalty check. So you add the tokens and then reduce this down. 1, 2, 3. Once the politic card has been played, you then get to add it to the political influence, which means Allison move up 1 more closer to an in-game bonus. Now it's the UN Solar Assembly's go. They're going to go to their research and development department and spend that 1 metal on an orbital platform around Mercury. And they get an in-game bonus of 2 solar credits for deploying their first orbital platform from the deployment rack. Next, back to Allison. They too are going to go to their research and development and spend 1 metal on deploying an orbital platform. So they deploy their orbital platform in. This is their second. That goes around Uranus. And they reveal all the hidden tiles. So they have a helium-3 nuclear, metal rare earths, hydrogen, and a solar event. So once they flip a solar event, they take it away, and they get to pick up the solar event card. So what do they have here? So solar event cards come with 2 options, one that normally involves another player and one that just involves 1 player. So in this case, gold-rich asteroid. Spectroscopic analysis of an asteroid reveals a composition that includes a high proportion of gold. Gain 3 solar credits and 1 metal. All other players with an extraction rig within your 1 sector of your exploration ship gain 2 solar credits. The other option, plot the location for future exploration, gain 2 solar credits and 1 metal resource. They're going to take the first option because there's no one around to benefit from it. So they're going to request assistance from players' extraction rigs, but no one else will gain. So they're going to gain 3 solar credits and 1 metal. That's quite good. It's good to explore and push out because solar event cards can be quite advantageous. Then put the solar event card into colonial leadership. So that means Alizon get to move up their colonial leadership. So we've now finished the 2-player game of Edict, and I'll walk through how you calculate victory points and the different measures in the game which give victory points. So there are 7 different factors that can give points at the end of the game. They are feats and goals. So feats are instant rewards given to players for achieving accomplishments in space exploration. So one of them is to build a research lab on Mercury or to deploy an orbital platform around Neptune. There are goals which are given to players at the end of the game, and these are for things such as accumulating most resources or having the highest mission control loyalty. Players get victory points for each research lab they've deployed and for their investment in future technologies. There's also victory points for your level on the propulsion tech tree and the number of resource tiles you've returned. Finally, and most importantly, you get victory points dependent on the number of solar credits you've earned in the game at the end, and this is determined by the final edict and the exchange rate that edict is given. So in this game, the final edict had an exchange rate of 3 solar credits to a victory point. This exchange rate can vary depending on the edict. So sometimes having 20 solar credits at the end of the game could give 20 victory points, which would be huge. But then other times, those 20 solar credits could translate to only 4 victory points. So it means you can't fully depend on one way of winning. There's an element of risk built into the financial victory point trade-off at the end of the game. So in this game, red team, Alizon, were able to win it. They achieved a good push into the outer system and were able to locate a lot of the solar event cards and use that to double down on some of their advantages. UN Solar Assembly did make a good effort in the inner system and really did mine and acquire a lot of resources, but it was Alizon that won it in the end. Cheers.